Is that where we are? Can you see me now? Everything looks the same on my end, so this must be something that's wrong with YouTube. Hmm. Now it's working? So we're good now? Don't know, peeps. But that's good to know. So I'm guessing there may have been a YouTube crash. But hey, we just kept persevering and it's good to be back. Okay. I'll tell you what, this is still better than when I used to go into the radio station and when you would walk in and you wouldn't get a visual or actual physical contact. I'd just get a text from the program director. Oh, by the way, the tower's down. Yeah, you won't be able to, nobody can pick up your streaming signal and they can only hear you in Radford. Oh, how long is that going to last? I don't know. We'll let you know. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Welcome back. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. But we want to thank all of our sponsors, Family Fencing. Then we'll start talking about the things that I was talking about early when nobody could see me. Family Fencing Studios, 540-200-8294. McClellan Chiropractic, Mark Hunley off of Walters Drive, 155 Walters Drive. The Ready Set Fund with Bob Chris, CRST11 at gmail.com. Professional Door Incorporated, residential commercial garage doors. Family owned and operated for 38 years, sponsor of our text line. National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of this show and yours truly. The attorney Ryan Pry, BDST fan question of the week. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg, 540-553-2971. And Pulaski County Sports Entertainment. Great to talk with Tim Miller on Friday, the presenting sponsor of this program. We're going to start doing some remotes with those people. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks to Lawson's Mobile Home Supply. Thanks to Brandon, Top Shelf Apparel, and, of course, the NRV Super Bowl. Hey, good to have everybody. Good morning. What's up, Venom? And thanks, everybody, for communicating and letting me know. That's good. You're how I knew there was something up. Okay? So thank you. Thank you. All right. But we're good now. From Castle Coliseum, where Virginia Tech was embarrassed by Florida State on Saturday in broad daylight, to Palm Coast, where the NCAA Big Dance is nowhere in sight. BDST is live and online. Good morning, Morris. How are you? Well, let's get into Virginia Tech. The things that you missed me talking about early because, I didn't know I wasn't on the air. An inexplicable loss. I've been around coaches that will tell you that when you're up by 3, a competitive game, but you're up by 3, and then you go into the second half and get outscored by 23 points on your home floor. There's a problem. And this isn't just about the one game, and we've kind of given them the benefit of the doubt, at least I have, about injuries. But you can't do that here because this is the same group that went down to Clemson, got a big road win, put them back in the peripheral conversations about an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament. But now their bubble completely has burst, and it has burst beyond recognition after something like that. The committee will not forgive nor forget losing by 23 points to an under 500 team on your home floor. I was sitting there and I'm watching the Radford game, obviously calling that game, and I saw Tech was ahead at halftime. I was listening to our producer do the score. I'm like, oh, okay, well, tough game, but that's, they're hanging in. And I had not seen the score till I left Dedmon, and I'm, checking scores before I get in my truck. And I see that Tech lost by 23. And I got home and I started looking at it. And Florida State shot 72% in the second half, 63% in the game. And that's just a lack of effort. But whatever happened at halftime into the second half, A 26-point swing. Just absolutely disgusting. By the way, TLB, I've tried everything. I don't know if I can get you back in. You're going to have to probably create a different title. I don't know what happened. Sorry. I'm still working on it, but we're trying. But I had at least 24 text messages on the Professional Door text line. And everybody's wanting me to talk about Mike Young's job seat. I don't want to speculate about somebody losing their job, but something's wrong. Something is not working within that program. And I think the coaches, Mike Young in particular, be the first one to tell you that. This was the first time Tech has ever dived headfirst into pay for play. The first time they've had the money to go out and spend. I mean, they had spent some here and there, sure. But this was the first time they really became real ACC spenders. And maybe because it was the first time, they didn't think about the character. I mean, Abadalis has not been worth the investment in any way, shape, or form. Has he been worth the investment they paid him? He had another poor game, and he's not that guy. I mean, at least right now, he's not that guy. Maybe he got over here and got overwhelmed, but you can watch. The effort doesn't seem to be there as much. And that happens a lot, not just with Tech, but with every team. Sometimes I'm seeing it throughout the Big South. Guys get there, they get paid, and then things change, just like professional players. They get that next contract and they don't become the same effective player because they get comfortable. Coach has got to figure it out. Exactly, Morris. This is on them. So, and I know the knee-jerk reaction. I saw the comments on the Tech basketball when they put up the post. I saw it. I mean, I bet you 90% of the posts were fire Mike Young. And I get it. You're upset after a loss. They're going to have to straighten it out quickly, and maybe going on the road and another tough challenge is exactly what they need. They did it last time. They got Miami tomorrow. But I think that was a result that tells you things aren't right in the program. I mean, you're at home, you're favored, you're playing an under 500 team, you're coming off a win that was the most substantial win you've had all year. Because of when it happened, I know they beat Virginia, and that was earlier, but first conference game, right at the first conference schedule. But that was a game that they had won, that they had to have, and then they come home and lose to Florida State by 23. I don't know. I didn't watch the game. Tried to watch some highlights. But when I saw the Florida State second half highlights, I mean, you can tell lack of effort on defense. You can tell a team that was just completely, once they got behind, they were not going to try to fight back. And that was the thing. If I'm Mike Young, that's what I'm more troubled with. They didn't even try to defend Florida State on what I saw in about 7 or 8 of their baskets. They got whatever they wanted to. Whatever they wanted to. And that's a problem. That's a problem. And just because you have money, you better spend it wisely. And there's a lot of, maybe even more so now than ever before. And we're going to talk about this. By the way, coming up, Phil Masian looked at the Tech freshmen. He's got 6 Tech freshmen he put high dollar signs to. And Prometheus, I think 2 of those guys that you ask about are on his list. Thanks, Morris. Thanks, TLB. I don't know, man. Pretty frustrating. I've sent some strongly worded I pay a hell of a lot for this StreamYard studio. And I put in some requests to help. They acted like they were going to help. Kind of like the folks I had was going to help me with my roof, and they've just disappeared. So it's a little frustrating. I've tried to get customer assistance on it. It shouldn't be the hard fix. For some reason, they tried to create it. Then they gave me a link. So I went there to try to fix it. And then there was nothing that was supposed to be there that they told me would be there to fix it. So I sent them another carefully worded email this morning before the show. How's that? So I'm trying, TLB. Let me know on your end. So for Tech, they've got Miami on the road. Wouldn't surprise me to see them go down there and win that game. Be a head scratcher of a team, but they've got more work to do now than they did initially. And I say that because, David Till sat in on one of the committee selections a few years ago. We're going to try to have him on to talk about it. It was great. When they look at a team losing at home as badly as Tech lost, they don't get over that. And maybe this team is not an NCAA team. Maybe that's the conclusion you have to come with. We'll see how they finish up the regular season. We'll see. You think they took it out on me? That's why I had problems this morning. I'm glad you guys let me know. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. But anyway, you can't hide who you are. Results tell you who you are. And that was, of all the losses they've had, that's the worst one by far. And not just on the scoreboard, but just how it went down. Because I'm just telling you, you talk to any coach, and I've talked to a lot, when you have a 26-point swing, you lost that locker room at halftime. Somehow they lost the message to that team in the second half. I know Florida State got hot and they started hitting shots, but all it took was a few shots, and then I saw complete lack of effort. So I don't know. But that's as bad. You'd have to ask Mike Young, but I'm guessing that's as bad of a loss as he's had since he's been in Blacksburg in terms of what it meant and how it made his program look and the reaction I've seen from people. People want there to be a change, and it's always the reaction with a frustrated fan base. Feels like to me, maybe the guy they focused on the most to bring here, maybe they need to do a little bit more work on. But in any event, we'll talk about that. Tech women had a good trip to the Bay Area. They won both, Stanford and Cal. Right? They won yesterday, didn't they? Wait a minute, let me make sure I'm right. Pretty sure they won yesterday. They were way ahead. I didn't see the final. Let's see here. Yeah, they beat Cal 68-58. There you go. So we'll talk about all that. Phil Almation and Todd Grantham coming up. Coach Elmo is going to look at some of those Tech freshmen you guys wanted. So that's great. So we talked about how horrible the NBA is going into it, and I've seen nothing but even prominent people who cover sports, the NBA, ripping the league, and they're just god-awful All-Star weekend. People calling for Adam Silver's job. And I think I figured out what's going on with pro sports. And you probably already knew this, but I didn't watch a second of it. Wasn't going to waste any of my time with it. The format looked ridiculous. Players didn't like it. Fans didn't like it because people were showing 5 minutes before tip-off of whatever game they were doing at the time, over half the arena was empty. The dunk contest was a joke. It was empty, and then the dunks that won. The league is completely broken. But we can say this now about all the three sports. The only one that's not broken right now is hockey. But the NBA is completely broken. The NFL is well on its way. And Major League Baseball is completely broken. And what we have is a consistent pattern that was not said in any way, shape, or form, Chris. Why would you say that? I'm just saying that the money that they spent has not paid off into wins, and he's the guy they paid the most money, and he hasn't been good. You're going to tell me Neo's been good? Any event, what we have commissioners. We have commissioners that don't care about the sport. See, they're hired by the owners. The owners are the bosses of the commissioners. So they see record-setting revenue. The NFL is going to be $1 trillion industry. The NBA just signed, what, 30-some billion dollar, and I don't know how, in total media contracts, right? And Major League Baseball is setting up for a long work stoppage after 2026. Because now you have all these players. You notice how many players this weekend? It's starting already. So the players' union is already getting together, talking about how they don't mind the Dodgers spending. The deferred payments are great because they're making more money than they ever have. But the owners don't fire these commissioners because they're making more money than they ever have. So the owners don't care either about their sport. The only people who care about the sport are the fans and the players. But the players, if they're getting paid, they can forgive their sport being overlooked as long as they're making bank, right? And that's what's happening. So when you see boneheads like Manny Machado talking about how great it is, he yesterday went on a tirade saying how great it is for baseball what the Dodgers are doing, when it's the one thing that's going to lead to a work stoppage. The NBA celebrating its weekend with very few people watching, at least live. I don't know what the ratings are going to be. They can't figure out what to do because Adam Silver doesn't care about the game. Roger Goodell doesn't care about the game. He only cares about the international ball, falling on the right side of the political advertising structure, I guess. But they forget about the game. The fans never do because we're the ones that are asked to spend our money on it. And we know what it looked like growing up, and we know why we fell in love with the sports. And now when you watch these sports, you see guys playing it that don't love it, and you see guys who own these teams that don't love it. They just love the money. And the commissioner's job is to make the owners as much money as possible. And that used to be in conjunction with the sport being better and better. Pete Rozelle, when you had the AFL and NFL merger, right? Understood what it was going to mean for the league. When Magic and Bird came into the league and how the NBA kind of changed its marketing under David Stern because he wanted the game to be better. Major League Baseball now, I don't know what they're going to do. But at one time, I guess before the 94 work stoppage, baseball was thriving. It was fending off the NFL for the most popular sport in this country. And then they stopped the 94 season, didn't have the World Series. Here comes the steroid era. And we were fooled for a while. And it hasn't gotten back since. Bud Selig was a terrible commissioner. And now Rob Manfred is even worse. So they don't care about the game. And that's the problem. And I don't think these owners care about their game as long as they're making money. So that we as fans are the ones who have to suffer. But as I seeing so many people, and I bet you I can go on X right now in real time, and everyone's talking about how horrible the All-Star weekend is. Yep, there it is. 1, 2, 3. I mean, but nothing will be done. Because again, the people that could get something done are making bank, so they don't care. And that's what it's all about. That's what's going to happen to college football. Talked to someone over the weekend at Virginia Tech who's kind of high up, saying that this is all we're seeing in college football, in college athletics, is just a money laundering scheme. Saying he predicted in 2 years this whole thing is going to be trashed out. This whole thing is going to be trashed out. That all non-revenue sports could eventually be dropped to club level. I think there are things on the horizon that we never thought we would ever go through as sports people. And it's coming. And it's coming. So, any event, we'll get your thoughts on that. Daytona. Tried to watch the end of the race there. I was fortunate enough to catch the last part. I think I caught the last couple, 3 laps. There were a couple big wrecks, one leading into the last lap and then one on the last lap. I think Michael Jordan's team won, right? But if you watched it, what did you think? I didn't watch it, so I can't really speak of it because I can't stand stage racing. But was it a good race? Did it live up to your expectations if you're a racing fan? I mean, I don't know the answer. You tell me. So let me know. All right, everybody's saying the All-Star game was fine. How was the All-Star game fine? I've seen nothing but criticism about it. Again, I didn't watch it because I didn't like the format when I saw it. I think it looked stupid. I know they keep trying to make things mean something because they were having these – didn't they have like 200 points or something like that scored when it was just the East versus the West? And then it had LeBron get up there, and he was complaining about this new format. So now it was like supposed to be America against the world. Kind of like they do in hockey, which, you know. So let me know. That's good to know that they actually played hard. That's a change. That's a real change. That's good to know. Never thought I'd see the day where people are saying good defense in the NBA. Why were the scores so low? What was the format? Yeah, 47-35. What did they play halves? Is that what they did? Did they just play halves? Is that what they did? Yeah. No, let me see. Yeah. Oh, one half. They just played one half in each game. Gotcha. Okay. So each game was just one half, one period. So they broke it down. Instead of 4 quarters, they had 4 games. I got you. I see. Yeah, he's going to come on, Steven. Yeah, we're going to get him on. I've already talked to Tim Miller. Oh, yeah, that's part of the plan. Stacy's going to be a regular, I believe, on the program. Yep. Way ahead of you. But y'all saying they played good defense, but in one quarter, I see 47 points, 48-45, 42-40. Really? Okay. So team stripes. Team stars, team stripes, and then the world. So they each played 2 games on team. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Went to Bristol race last year. First race over 20 years between the normal wrecks and the stages. It felt like half the race was under caution. The stages are stupid. Yeah, I can't stand stage race. One time I turned it on in the middle of the race. They were coming at the end of the first stage. And I'm starting to think about, why do they do this? How is this helping advance? Then they were explaining they changed the whole point system again, apparently. Wow. Anyway, let's get back to Tech basketball. So the words were never uttered that it was all Abadalis' fault. But the fact is they paid him almost $3 million. They spent the high-end percentage of their pay-for-play dollars on him, and he has not performed to that expectation. They have been injured. We've talked about that. We've talked about its responsibility of the coaches and everybody involved in that program. As a matter of fact, I even said this is something they're going to have to soul search and figure out. But whatever the problem is, as I said, it's pretty evident that when you're up by 3 at halftime and you're on your home floor and you've got a pretty vocal, from what I saw, the crowd was pretty vocal, and you have a 26-point turnaround, something is wrong. Something's wrong with the locker room and the message the coaches are trying to get to the players. They have to figure that out. Maybe going on the road can help. Sometimes that helps a whole lot, like it did when they beat Clemson. But they were favored. You had to carry that momentum. They still had work to do after Clemson. And then you come home and get boat raced in the second half on your home floor. I don't know what the hell the answers are, but Mike Young and his staff need to figure it out, and those players need to figure it out. And I'm just saying that you see this a lot. We're seeing it a lot in basketball. We're seeing it a lot in our league even. And I hear from our coaches that I talk to before every game. Something is changing completely with these mindsets almost overnight. There have been, I'm not going to mention the players to embarrass them, but we've had, not on our team, but throughout the Big South, you can look it up, throughout the Big South, 3 schools have had to dismiss the highest paid player they brought in to their program. 3 of them, and we're a nine school basketball league. So it tells me that guys are going places they don't want to be, and they're getting paid, and they don't care because the way it's set up, they're going to get paid as long as they show up. And I wonder if that's happening in Blacksburg. It's a delicate thing, man. And it's new. It was new for Tech this year, which was my whole point earlier. They have not dived into pay for play like they did this year. This is the most they've ever had and the most they've ever spent. And when you get those guys here, coaching them is different. Keeping them engaged is different. I hear our coaching staff talking about all the time. But they're going to have to figure it out. And it's not the same as when you recruited guys in high school or maybe got JC transfers, or maybe had a guy transfer to your school after he sat out a year. He was committed to your school, committed to strong grades, and then you put that team together and you can coach them. They want to be there. Nowadays, and this is what I've been talking about, when you look at everybody that's transferring in football, they're going to these schools for one reason. They're going there for dough and what they can get paid. Yeah, it's great if they have a prior with the head coach. But that kind of loss in that manner tells me there's something wrong with inside that locker room. Just being around college basketball and calling it for 30 years. You just hear from coaches and they'll tell you. So Mike Young knows there's a problem. How do they fix it? Go out and beat Miami and start showing it on the floor. But for all the people, and I appreciate it, again, you can send a message on the text line anytime. People, I bet you there were 24 texts, people wanting him fired. And I saw the post. If you go look at the X account for Tech men's basketball, look at how many people want to fire Mike Young. Okay, Bob. Next year-itis? I don't know how it's going to look next year. Because you can't assume you're going to have a third of your roster back ever again. Kids aren't mentally strong these days. You can't coach them, correct? As a matter of fact, the coaches I talk to in the Big South, and we have some damn good ones, are saying that you have to consciously change what you've known about coaching just because of these guys and what they're making and how they come into your program. It comes across to me as if they're saying, without saying it, they feel like they're doing you a favor, even though we're paying you. We decided to come to your school, so it's a professional mindset. And this is why what I've said about the commissioners not caring about the pro sports leagues, which is why they suck. It's going to happen in college. It's already happening. It's going to happen throughout college football and college basketball. The rich will get richer. The SEC and the Big Ten are going to lead the way for the super conference. It's going to be the only players in the game. Now, this is someone that I spoke to over at Tech who's been involved in all these decisions that have happened over the last year, 6 months. And if you have to drop all the other non-revenue sports down to club level status and get rid of scholarships, it's the only way to have this revenue share. Because, as he said, the only way this is going to work is if all of these revenue share athletes become employees of the university, which is what we have said since we came back on in August. It's the only way this is going to work. Because this thing's about to completely crash out and implode. And if you don't think Virginia Tech sitting over there as excited they are about James Franklin, all the money they got, knowing what's going to happen if they're left on the outside, trust me, they're more worried about that than anything else that's happened in terms of financial commitment and so forth. That money is going to go through pretty quickly. And every school in the country, even the ones who seemingly have money to burn, are going through the same thing. And that's why, by the way, I brought up the point, is that why we're seeing so many schools show their books? He said, absolutely. Absolutely. Because if Florida State's losing money like that, he goes, you don't think everybody else is losing money like that, or most schools? I said, yeah, it's a good point. So anyway, it's going to show up everywhere because it's a professional mindset. For years, for most of our lives, we loved college sports because it reminded us it was the closest to how we grew up, closest to high school. It was non-professional, even though guys were getting paid then illegally, right? Blue chips, Alabama Mafia, but they weren't professionals. Now they're professionals, and it's starting to really show in the mindset of these clubhouses And a lot of coaches weren't ready for it. Maybe Mike Young wasn't ready for it. Maybe that's why all these coaches got out of it before it started, right? Look at all the basketball coaches in particular who retired. They don't want to deal with it. They want to have nothing to do with it. We'll talk to Coach Elmo and Todd a little bit about that coming up. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen. How do you motivate a guy that's making $2.5 million a year? Or making $2.5 million to play for 4 months? Let's break it down a little bit. Again, we don't know how these things are structured because nobody has to talk about it. I know how the Radford ones are structured, but I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not allowed to. I wouldn't. But I'm just saying we don't know what the plans are going to be, and we'll see what it looks like. How many of these guys will be back for Tech? I don't know the answer to it. My guess is not many. My guess is you look around the ACC, how many guys are going to be gone? And every year you're going to reload. And I think that's the accepted thing. 1 year. Every coach in the Big South, I've asked, how long do you think? He goes, you might have a few. You might keep at most 2 or 3 if they're guys who really want to develop and maybe earn their way into getting paid. But every year they're planning on losing 12 guys. And the coaches who can adapt to that, that's fine. The ones who can't will struggle. And again, is this what we wanted for our collegiate sports? You know what it's going to lead to, right? It's going to lead to what we see in the NBA. It's going to lead to what we're seeing in the NFL. It's all going to crash and burn just like that. And every coach and every administrator knows it. Because it can't exist. They can't coexist. You can't throw this much money at young people who've never had it before and expect this just to fall in line and be acceptable, and it's just going to flow easily. The immaturity of it. How would you do now if you were making that much money? Correct, Ryan Pry. The 1 year thing is key. I've seen so many Tech fans talking about how young this team is, but they ignore the fact that Tech's whole basketball team entered the portal just a couple of years ago. And it will again. And it's the same thing in football. If you bring a guy in and he has a great year, and he all of a sudden, because of his agency or his representation, says, you know what, you can make a lot more money. You've put yourself in, he's going to jump right in the portal. And then it's up to the coach of his old school. If he goes out and he can't find a deal and he wants to come back, then it's going to be up to the coach's decision. And I don't think you can be as much of a hard ass as you might want to be on that, right? Like you would originally want to say, well, you left my program. Well, no, you don't have a place back here. That started to change in recent years when guys would say they're going to the portal, but they'd let them. Then Brent Pry did it, right? You let guys play in the bowl game anyway when they played Tulane, so forth. So now you might have to just say, okay, well, glad you want to come back. Let's see what we can work out for you. I don't know what you thought you were worth. But why did anyone think this was going to be something that was going to work? Like, why did we think that you could give 18 to 22-year-olds millions of dollars and they were just going to come in and be just like they were back in the days when they were just high school students coming to play in your program? Why did we think that was going to work? And it's not. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, as much as I respect Curt Cignetti and I respect everything that he was able to accomplish in this 1 year, then this whole thing, he won't be able to maintain that for I don't expect them to be a national title contending team next year. We'll see. Nope. Again, Chris is the master of putting things into my vocabulary that's not been said. There's no structure for which there's no structure in place for them to be paid. You have no leadership that's been able to kind of show, okay, this is going to be the level, blah, blah, blah. The failure goes with the lack of leadership at the highest levels of college administration. All right. And so then, since there are no rules, there's no regulations, it's all every man for himself. So if you're in the SEC and you're getting all this TV revenue and all this external revenue, or if you have contributions like Texas Tech, who spent over $60 million, Texas Tech and Ohio State spent over $60 million on paying players last year. So when you have that and you say, well, we can go out and we can give this player this player that. So then you have no rules and you have certain schools who can do it and you have certain schools who have no chance at doing it. So therefore these players' expectations become completely inflated. And when you don't have when you don't have enforceable contracts, when you don't have an employment agreement, that's the problem. See, everybody wants to blame the player, and it's the system that failed them as much as it's failed the schools. Right? There were not any rules to implement this new world that we live in college athletics. There's nobody willing to enforce it because they're so afraid. And the attorney, Ryan Pry, can back me up. They're so afraid because they know they're going to lose litigation battles. The NCAA always loses litigation battles. If the Duke quarterback signs a 2-year deal, he shouldn't be allowed to enter the portal after 1 year. Correct. Enforceable contracts. Why is it okay for them to have this type of freedom? Because nobody has the guts enough to say it needs to stop because they're afraid of litigation. They open Pandora's box and nobody's got enough balls to put the lid back on. Ryan continues, and when a player signs with another school, the school that he's leaving should get compensation, much like the pro soccer model. All these things make perfect sense, but the problem is there's not anybody in place to enforce it. And when you're going to watch college football and college basketball continue to be destroyed, that's going to be the reason why. There's absolutely no leadership at any level of college athletics that's trying to do anything, but they just complain about it. Well, you're in power of it. So why aren't you could make a difference. Couldn't they rise up and say, you know what, let's just say to heck with being so worried about litigation. Why don't we try to, if we care about it at all, why don't we try to correct it? Nobody's willing to try to correct it. This is what's happening in the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball. The owners are the ones who could correct it by getting new leadership, commissioners, but they're making so much money, they don't care about their sport. Here, the haves are making theirs and succeeding and are controlling things, the SEC and the Big Ten. They don't care about the rest of it. You think they care about their Olympic programs? No, the money, Prometheus, completely changes the effort. Yeah, exactly, Chris. This goes higher than the player. So this goes back again to what I say on the program all the time. Then it becomes up to you as someone who consumes this, and me as a fan, how much we've needed this our whole lives. How much more can we look at this and continue to accept this? How much more are you going to contribute? How much more of your own money are you going to spend in all this when you see it completely collapsing? And it is completely collapsing. Tech fan right now is they got a little blurry vision because they're so excited about James Franklin that they forget about the overview of how this could look in a year for Tech too. I get that. You want to win so badly, you want to get this program back up that you kind of forget about where things are. Not with Tech, but with the way things are in college athletics. And we'll be reminded again very soon, because it's going to hit here just like it's going to hit everywhere else across the country. Nobody's immune to what's going on. Virginia Tech, Virginia, Radford, William and Mary, VCU, you name it, we're all going to get hit by it, and we already are. There's no way this is going to be sustainable at any level. And person I talked to from Tech said it's going to be about a 50-team split. And all the other schools will have their own tournament. It's going to happen. And the reason it's going to happen is because the SEC and the Big Ten are already creating that scenario. If you don't think they are, well, I'm sorry. And ESPN's part of it. Correct, Prometheus, 100%. The bag changes it all. And I don't think it really matters how good of a coach you are. I don't think it's not going to be a negative on any coach that can't make this work because they're not used to it. I'd be curious, Chris, how you've seen how the contract structures are with these players since the schools don't release it. Do they have a effort and rewards program in their contracts, or where was that released? Has there been a release on that? Because I haven't seen anything about how anybody's being paid and why they're being paid what they are across the country, because nobody's been forced to show their hand. And I think Ryan Pry, the attorney, would agree that that's part of the frustrating part of all this. Correct. That would surprise me because it certainly looked like Coach Pry was playing the players who got paid the most regardless of the effort, which they did, which is why Kyron Drones never came off the field. Joining us now on the program to talk about how to fix all this is Coach Elmo. Before we get into the assessment of your 6 Tech freshmen, how in the world can college survive given what's going on? Per our discussion today, is the best answer is that it's not going to.
Right now, it is. Today, that is the best answer. That is the answer, not the best. It's the answer as of today, and probably tomorrow, and because it's Groundhog Day, Rick. As soon as the season's over with, every day's Groundhog Day. This is the only conversation you're going to have. You know, now it's the season. They got the football season, which kind of, ratings are up, popularity, all that good stuff. Then you got the coaching firing seasons and the portal, and now you got the portal NIL conversation and monies that colleges are losing money. There's, not all of them are in the black. And that's the conversation you're going to have. it's a negative conversation. Who's talking about the high school freshmen and their, and their incoming classes that have potential, good student athletes at the university? That conversation is not being had. It's portal and NIL. That's the conversation. That's the conversation you're going to have from now on until the season starts again. It's that, and it's negative. It's not. There's not a lot of positives. Well, here's the good news, Rick. 10, 15 years ago, the guys were getting arrested. Guys were, drugs, academics flunking out. Now, academics, that's just an absolute joke.
Yeah, that never gets brought up at all, does it, Coach? I don't hear that anywhere.
No one's ineligible, and everybody's eligible. Okay, but right now, here's probably the good news about the NIL is accountability from the money standpoint. Is you want to be real stupid and go break what would be maybe Coach Holtz's do-right rule, and where it affects the team. Some things that affect the individual you work with. Whether it's drugs or alcohol or whatever, non-DUI, non-arrested for assault, the things, the alcohol, the byproducts of the alcohol and the drugs, which eventually will affect the team. Okay. And those are becoming minimal. Now, either you're not hearing about it because of the money, or because of the money, the players and the agents and the moms and the dads, they kill the kid before anybody else, because they're costing the family money. So they're probably, so there's a little bit of accountability for the money in a sense. Rick, think about the headlines 20 years ago compared to what the headlines are now.
It's true.
Georgia's had some issues with their players, but nothing, at least from what I'm reading into, like I said, you got two kinds of issues. You got issues that are personal, affect the individual, and really doesn't have, it has bought, shrapnel for the team, but it does not affect the team as a number one entity. That's individual decision that he made,
right,
that affects the team, period. And those are the ones that get into the headlines and get, and I think the NIL maybe has helped that a little bit to a point. But Rick, when it's all said and done, I've learned this a while back, because there's only 26 letters in the alphabet and 7 notes in music and so many colors of the rainbow. It's not that hard, but you start asking the questions, and being a part of the journalism journey in this adventure of college sports, who, what, when, where, how, and why, the probative questions. So you sit back there and you go, okay, who created this? All right. Who created it? College presidents,
right.
And commissioners.
Correct.
The college presidents and commissioners chased TV money.
100%.
That's it. There's only 7 notes in music, Rick. This is. I'm going to give you the cliff notes. Okay, who created this? Let's get. That's the number one question that needs to be addressed.
Right.
And it is 2 entities: the college presidents and the commissioners of each conference. All the commissioners. You think the SEC commissioner cares about the Big Ten? Not one ounce.
Not one iota. No.
Not one. Okay. You think the college president at Colorado gives a crap about K-State?
Right. No.
You think the president of Virginia cares about Virginia Tech's athletic issues?
No.
So it's the presidents and conference commissioners chasing TV money for the conferences.
Right. And although we hear about the kids and the money they're making, the blame doesn't go on the kids. I mean, as much as it frustrates us, and they have this opportunity to jump from school to school, the system is giving them the option. If I were a 5-star superstar quarterback or whatever. And I thought I'm at school A, and I go, you know what? Look at the year I just had, man. I got 12 schools coming after me, offering me twice as much money. What would you do, coach? What would I do? I would jump right in the portal. Right?
Send my check to Sanibel Island, Florida. I'm going to take a vacation.
Right? I mean, but it's the system. You said it. It's the president. It's the top. The fish rots from the head. The fish rots from the head. Dad used to always tell me that.
And that's what it is. So, you can talk in circles, Rick. I mean, we all, even myself, I'll talk in circles, but okay, all right, let's establish the who. Real simple. The presidents and commissioners, okay? Why'd they do it? Why did they do it? All right. Well, they're chasing money. That's the why. It's $1. TV, ESPN, Fox, CBS, they're chasing money for the conferences.
Right.
Okay. And now the third question the biggest question in the conversation is, because of the shrapnel from this grenade that went off, that the presidents and the commissioners pulled the pin through the grenade, it's exploded. Okay. Why'd they throw the grenade? The grenade is the dollar signs. They had it in their hand. Okay. And now they let it go. And now the biggest question is, what are you going to do about it? Because what can you do about this? Because there is no enforcement. There are no enforcements that go on with the NIL. And now, who came up with the portal should be thrown in jail.
Agreed.
Okay, really. That's whoever. And I know I get it. Well, the student athlete. No, the student can transfer wherever he wants to go. No, the student's not on a football scholarship. The student is not a commitment and an obligation to the university, to the coaches. So don't give me the student crap.
Apples and oranges. Yep. Apples and oranges. Yep.
No, you signed a football scholarship to be paid. You're going to be debt-free. Your family is debt-free after 4 years. Okay, debt-free. All right? No, I don't buy that. That's
not the same. Yeah, not the same.
It's a bunch of crap. That's like when the Ivy Leagues had a vote now, same as Alabama's county. They finally got rid of that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
So, here's the problem, bigger issue, Rick, when it's all said and done. You got two entities now. Everybody's thinking on a national scale, right? Big 12, SEC, ACC, Big 10. All right. Well, you got, that's the presidents and ADs on the national scale. But then you got the conferences, which are who? The commissioners and the presidents. So the presidents are caught in between. But now, so you have this national issues that you're trying to solve nationally. But guess what? Guess where the lawsuits are coming out of? It ain't coming out of this into the Supreme Court. It's state by state. I got an Ole Miss judge that's an Ole Miss graduate, and I'm giving that quarterback one more year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They had to find the right one.
Yeah, you got to find the right judge at the right state, and they're not winning. They're not winning. The NCAA cannot win a lawsuit.
Nope.
And then they get to the point where they go, no mas, we're not even trying to fight.
And it's the same thing when people say, well, they need to appoint a commissioner. Who's going to appoint a commissioner with who? No, who's going to do that? Who's got the power to do that? Well, nobody.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another question. Who, why they did it, how they did it, when they did it, and what are they going to do about it? And then who's going to do what they're going to do about it? And that's it. And these are people with a lot of letters in front of their name, Rick. PhD.
Oh, yeah. They're supposed to be smart, right? They're supposed to be smart.
The dumbest people that put on a pair of shoes. That ever laced up shoes. So that's the issue. And it's I'm Rick, until this masquerade of marketing opportunities, NIL, because of the video games and the jerseys being sold.
Yes.
When it's all said and done,
Such
the
a
kids
joke.
are going, that's me. You're making money off of me. The greed of the NCAA, when you go into the bookstore and you look at that little tag that's selling a football trademarked logo for William and Mary, okay, hey, or this Ferrum shirt I got on, all right, and you see the little tag, NCAA trademark with it, guess who's making the money?
Right. Good point.
The university and the NCAA, and the kids getting nothing. And that's what, that's what happened. They went to lawsuits occurred and using my name, my image, and my likeness. But let's cut the crap, Rick. It's pay for play.
Pay for play. That's what I've been saying.
Yep. Decide to recognize that and put athlete that's a / student at the university, they're not going to solve this problem. They will never solve this problem.
If it was
want to solve it.
They don't want to solve it, right?
You got to want to solve it, Rick.
If it would have stayed, now go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, until you designate these people as employees,
right?
That's a period. Like I said, Rick, there's only 26 letters in the alphabet. Try to pick up a dictionary. It's heavy as hell. Okay, they're big, they're large, a lot of words. There's only 7 notes in music. Look at all the music. It's not this hard. All right?
If it would have stayed NIL in the true sense, okay, I'm signing this kid. By the way, the car dealership wants him to be a spokesman. That's great. Under the new rules, he gets all that money, whatever he works out.
He can go market himself for advertising.
Correct. That was the original idea of all this. If he wants to go sign with a restaurant and he wants to be a spokesman or they want to create a sandwich, he make a commercial, he gets all that money. That's what it was supposed to be. Instead, it's we're going to pay you $3 million to come play football for us.
No, we're going to pay you. We're just going to flat out before you even get to college. It was supposed to be while you're in college. Hey, all right, name, image, and likeness for the third string offensive guard. If you're a car dealer, you're going to have him sell cars for you? Hell no.
Right.
I want the I want the Heisman Trophy candidate.
There you go.
Endorsing my restaurant and selling my cars because it's called credibility, success. This is when the advertisement. This is the portrait of success, and if this gentleman is endorsing my product, well, it must be good because he's a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Yeah,
and he's a worker, and he's got all the things. And you know what? As not a football player that I would right now. And you know what the bigger problem is, Rick? There's football players now. I don't know if there's a football player I would ever. The Colgate-Palmolive Company. When I was playing at William Mary, by the old Colgate-Palmolive Company.
Yeah.
First place they would go to in hiring was the football office, and the general manager, the business director, there was a gentleman named Ed Derringe, most wonderful human being that's ever been involved in athletic administration. And he was the business guy at William Mary. He had to tell a lot of people no, what monies we had and what we didn't. Well, they would go to his office. They would get on campus, go directly to the football office, sit down with Mr. Derringe. Who would you recommend? Don't care who it was off the football team that would be a person that could help our company, and we could help him, an employee. Who would you recommend for employment? First place. Who's going to do that now? What company is going to go to a football team and look for a person that's already made $1 million, other than for advertisements?
Right.
So, and then when the band stops playing, the lights are off, okay? When it's over for these athletes, I will promise you this, Rick. I will promise you. Those kids are going to have major, it ain't going to be 50% of them, but 10% is too much. 10% of these kids are going to have issues that they have never dealt with before.
Yeah.
That's going to be created, compounding the issues they already have. Hell, we all had issues growing up. I don't know if anybody never not went through that challenge of dealing with whatever issues, family, life, drugs, alcohol, all the issues. Now compound it with the greed and the money. When that money stops flowing and their NFL dreams are dead, you won't be a psychology major, baby, because you're going to be needed. Psychiatrist, excuse me.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So that, and then the basketball, Rick, Jay Wright, Tony Bennett, Larinaga, Roy Williams, Coach Krzyzewski.
Saw the handwriting on the wall and said, nope.
National champion, national champion, national champion, national champion. Nick Saban, national champion. What do they all have in common? They won national championships, and they're not doing this.
Yep.
it's a job. And guess what? Conference commissioners could care less.
Yeah.
That conference, when Nick Saban decided to get out, you think that conference commissioner was going, "Oh my God, oh my God, we just lost the greatest thing." No, next guy up. Come on.
Next guy.
There's always some idiot coach who's will take half the salary. I've always said to myself, there's a guy waiting for me to screw this up. And he'll do my job for half my salary. And even at because my salaries were not what they are today. I averaged probably about $70,000 a year. That was my average for 40 years of coaching this game.
How would you adjust today, Coach? Let's say you're on a staff right now at a P4, and you're out there with the defensive backs, and you got one guy who's making $2.5 million. You've got four guys who are making, I don't know, anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000, whatever it might be. How would you go about it? Would you wait and see how the kid responded? How would you have to adjust, you think, in your mind when you went on, if you stepped on the field today?
Well, I've always been a grenade thrower. Okay, I want to see where the shrapnel is going to land. I'm going to pull the pin. So my first meeting would be, and hey, you better win. I mean, I know this. I've always said this. If I play certain people that somebody wants me to play, whether it's money or a head coach, and I don't think he can help us win, especially maybe because of his character, particularly, or his processing of information, basically being a dumbass. All right, I ain't playing him because he's going to get me fired anyway. So I might as well pick the kid I want and do it my way. And the percentages now go in my favor of keeping my job because I'm going to play the best player that will give us the best opportunity to win. That's it. And that's all the conversation I'm having with the head coach. He gives us, not me, not my job. He gives us the best opportunity to win. I have been in that situation at least 3 times where I've been confronted by a head coach at least 3 times and told all 3 coaches to stick it where the sun don't shine. I'm playing this kid. And that's fact. That's fact. And I've done it.
And the coach has to then decide, well, you're
making the final decision, but you're asking, don't forget, sometimes those bosses ask questions and they hate the answer.
They don't want to know the answer. Yeah. Then they just stop asking questions. Right.
Well, that's the best part about it because they know you'll bite back. But here's the problem. But so I would tell the first meeting I would have, one of the very first meetings I would have, walking into a home, not necessarily, no, when I got him there. Okay, I'm not doing it before, but when I got him there, oh, and by the way, when you cross these stripes, I could give a crap who you are, how much you're making, where you're from, what's your religion, what you're at. I don't care. Winning does not see this. Okay? It's what's important now. And guess what? I could care less. Once you cross that stripe, I am playing the best football player for this university. And if we don't win, I'll get fired.
I like it.
That's how I would approach it today. Okay, everybody on the same page? What don't you understand about this picture I'm painting? Please raise your hand or come see me.
So what?
And anybody that you've talked to that have played for me knew, listen, I played walk-ons in front of scholarship guys. Yarborough DB was a walk-on. Scott Jones was a walk-on. Eric Hayes, these are all Virginia Tech walk-ons that I started in front of scholarship guys because they were the best players. So that's how I would approach
Is there going to be a fix? If there's
it.
going to be a fix,
Not today.
how's it going to
Not-
come? I don't even know how it would
not
even, I don't even know what it would look like with
Make
the
them
fear.
employees, Rick. Let's cut
It's
the
got to be the only
masquerade.
thing.
Cut the masquerade. We're pay to play. We are how many professional sports are there? I don't know. I'm talking about men's professional sports.
Oh, wow.
We are add college football to that. Put it in that umbrella. It's NFL. It's NBA. It's not NCAA. It's college football.
College football.
We now are professionally, athletes. They're professional athletes. They're going to get paid. They are going to be employees of the university. And that's the only way they're going to do it. Because here's the thing, Rick. It's not, again, it's a national thing. But right now, the problem is each state. You got to deal with each state. Find a judge from the university in that state, or whatever that kid wants, he's going to get. Look at the Ole Miss quarterback, 6th year.
I know.
6th year. They got guys, and this is all the byproduct of COVID, but that's the other thing. You got 6, 7, 8 years to play. Are you serious?
And guys going pro and coming back.
How about the guys going pro, jumping back? Let's go to Europe for 2 or 3 years and come back and play college basketball. That is a joke.
To get money.
That is a joke.
Wow.
So, yeah, but it's sad you're having this conversation. But.
I know. Well, I had the conversation this weekend with somebody over at Tech, and they're very pessimistic. This is somebody who is in on all this stuff, and they're like, this is about done. We don't know exactly when, but we know it's all. Trust me, he goes, everybody over here knows it's about done. Yeah.
There's ebbs and flows in everything, especially in universities with winning and losing, and coaches coming and going, players coming and going. But the one common denominator, you better win.
Yeah.
Because if, let's say Virginia Tech wins 2 games next year, and then maybe 5 games the following year, okay, which I don't think is going to happen.
Right.
But let's say they do. Where are you going? What decision you're being made? I mean, get a new quarterback? That's the problem right now. The money is so big. It's running the donors. I've always said this back in the day when the car dealers and the SEC is as good as anybody in the NIL because they've been in this business for an awful long time. Okay, the cheating, and that's what it is. It's legalized cheating. Now it's legal. That's what NIL stands.
That's all. Yeah.
So and the NCAA is they've just washed their hands. They can't do that. I told you it's going to be a Fox ESPN league. They need to go professional, pay the players, make them employees, have a collective, and the Fox and ESPN are running college, which they are now.
And Notre Dame and NBC with Notre Dame.
Oh, that's NBC with so between NBC, CBS, Fox, ESPN, between presidents and commissioners and chasing that TV money, this is where we're at.
Yep, 100%. Well, we'll see. I'll talk more about this with Todd coming up because he's still in it. We'll see what he says. But hey, you took the time to look at the sick. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I looked at some of these kids. You
got 6 of them, right?
Yeah, I did the Virginia. Because when the chat was asking about kids, these were high school kids, and I had just done nothing but the portal.
I'm going to shut this shade. Keep going, Coach. I'm going to go shut this shade. Okay, keep going.
Sure. Yeah, but I did the high school kids for Greg Roberts. Oh, geez, a couple of months ago, and I almost forgot I had this list because I was so vested into the portal and the portal kids for Virginia and Virginia Tech, and for Coach Grantham. So what I ended up doing is when they asked about the 2 players that I didn't have, I thought they were portal kids, but they were high school kids. And the 2 young men that the chat wanted to know about were both linebacker type guys, Matthew Lamar Lamah, I believe, was one of the portal guy, not one of the high school freshmen. Terry Wiggins and Tyson Harley. These are the three outside linebacker high school signees. And I think your chat, Rick, asked about Harley and Wiggins, I believe.
Yes, I think Prometheus was asking.
Or Lamar and Wiggins, I believe. Yeah. So, but I'll go over all three. I'll start with that.
Yeah.
Because the chat had the most interest in them.
Sure.
The kid, and I hate this because it's huddle highlight tapes, and they are a pain in the butt to look at. So it's not fair either. However, just looking at physical abilities, this Matthew Lamar from Nokesville, Virginia, 6'3", 220. I think he runs 4.7. He's a physical tackler. There's some guys, Rick, when you watch a kid tackle and their decision-making confidence, I call it trust in their training, trust in their eyes. A lot of players, I'll always challenge them to, hey, trust your talent. Some guys that make a lot of mistakes, they don't trust their own talent, and they're playing basically two positions instead of one. So, I always try to find guys that will trust their decisions, trust their eyes, make a decision, and go full speed at it. And that's what this kid does. That's what he shows me on film. When he gets into the point of attack on contact, he's not decelerating, he's accelerating, which shows me confidence in his talents, because that movement eventually will have to be adjusted within the play. The ball's not standing still. It's point A, it's point B, it's point C. It's not circular like basketball. It's straight line game. Football's a straight line game. Shortest distance of 2 points is a straight line.
Right.
So I've got to get to these points as fast as I can, as quick as I can, with a great purpose, and as Coach Holtz always said, arrive in a bad mood. and that's what this young man can do. The big question for him, he's 6'3", 220. I think he's a 4.7 kid. I don't know where the body's going. He's the kind of guys I like. They say, well, what's the difference between an inch? I've always said, not that it's physiologically no trainer will probably say you're full of crap. The trainers will probably tell them full. I say 1 inch is 10 pounds. 6'2", 6'3". This kid may be a 250, 60-pound kid someday, maybe a DN, maybe an inside tackle. Waverly Jackson, a player we had in 93, Todd did a great job with. Todd loved this kid. He was a 6'2.5", 6'3-ish, 225-pound fullback from South Hill, Virginia.
He was a good player, man.
Oh,
Waverly Jackson was a good player. Yeah.
Oh, he ended up playing offensive line for the Bolts.
Yeah.
For the Colts.
Yeah.
Well, he ended up being 280-pound 3 technique defensive lineman. And here's the thing, Rick. If you run 4.8 at 225 or 4.7 at 225, you're going to run 4.8 at 280 pounds too. You don't lose speed. So he was, so that's maybe this kid could go. So I like this kid. I think he's a $2 sign guy for me, Rick. I wouldn't pay a high school kid more than $2 signs. 2.5. I'll give him 2.5. The more positions they play, the more dollar signs I'll give them. If they're one position players, I'd give every high school kid a $1 sign. I'm getting them on the cheap. You haven't done a damn thing. Okay. But he's a $2.5 sign guy. I like it. Excuse me. The other kid, Terry Wiggins, is 6'2", 197. So he's from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, I believe. He's an athlete. He's a good athlete. He's 6'2". When I see 6'2", 190s,
he can add some good weight, can't he?
Yeah, let me take a look at this guy as safety. That safety size is what you want. It's safety. Now, could you end up being a linebacker? I had a kid I was recruiting for Washington out of Maryland named Dahani Jones. You remember that name?
Yes, I do.
The Eagles. I was the only one he was going to Richmond. This is a true story. He's going to Richmond, 6'2", 190. I'm at the University of Washington recruiting the East Coast because University of Washington had a couple of Virginia kids on their national championship team, the center and the DN. I can't remember their names. So So I call up Jim Tate at Richmond. I said, Coach, what about this linebacker? I just got a film on him. Kid's interested in Washington. He had family out state of Washington. He goes, oh, he's a great player. He goes, I'm the only one that knows about him. So we offered him at Washington. Hey, listen, when you're at the University of Washington, you offer a kid from Maryland. Guess what? A lot of staff rooms are going, hey, anybody know about this kid? Washington just flew all the way across the country to offer him from Maryland. And all of a sudden, Michigan jumps on the kid. They ended up beating him. He started as a true freshman from Michigan on their national championship team. But so 6'2", 190 is a good size. I think he's a 4'6", 5" kid, this Wiggins kid. I think he's a redshirt kid. See where that body's going. He's a safety. He's playing linebacker in what I call a safety's body, like the young man I just talked about, who ended up playing in the NFL for the Eagles for years.
Yeah, Donnie Jones.
About two. So, but he's a Penn State decommit. He was a committed to Penn State, decommitted, came to Virginia. One of the from Pennsylvania. But I like him. I think he's a good athlete. The next kid, the Harley kid, Tyson Harley. I really like this kid, Gonzaga in DC, and he's 6'4", 215, running I think a 4.65, which means he could be 4.7 or 4.6. So I'll always put the 5 in there because you don't know, but that's where my guesstimation is. I think everybody in chat will remember a young man we had at UVA named Chris Slade, who now is the defensive coach. Chris Slade, George, when he was a freshman, Chris Slade probably got his ass chewed by George more than any other player because he was so disruptive in practice. I mean, he would hit quarterbacks when he's not supposed to. And he was his motor never stopped. Well, that's what this kid's like to me. He reminds me of Chris Slade. He really does. He's got a Chris Slade motor. He is a physical player. Don't know where the body's going. I gave him $2.50. Wiggins, I only gave $1.50, but those are the 3 linebackers who they brought in as that I know of. Maybe there's more. Maybe they got more committed.
Sure.
Those were the 3 linebackers, and particularly the 2 in chat wanted to know about. The top other kids is I've mentioned this before, Wilder, the lineman from Green Run. I love him. He can run. He pulls. He got some defensive talents. He looks like I would bet he's got to have been a basketball player. And whether it was pickup or organized, I'm going to pick him on my team. So I really liked him as far as all the old linemen. They got a kid out of Benedictine, Madison Cochran, 6'7", 280. I don't know how you turn it down. I think he's a redshirt kid. I think he's a solid talent. You hope you can get 25 in his career. You'll get 25 snaps out of him somewhere in the 2 deep. Maybe he'll start. Maybe he'll be all conference. I don't know. Wilder from Green Run, I'm putting the all conference label on him. Type player.
Wow.
In the future. The last 2 kids that I'm going to go over, Rick, I really liked was this Davion Brown from Trinity Episcopal in Richmond. This kid is special. He is because I love it when they play multiple positions. I also love it when they play multiple sports. The reason why I hate football players that just play one sport and one position. I hate it. It's sad. You know why? I like them playing multiple sports because they got multiple coaches and personalities they have to deal with. They can deal with a track coach who may be the hardest ass of all of them. You know what I mean? I've been with some track coaches. You don't want to run track for these guys. You don't want to be a thrower or a jumper. And so they can their personalities need to, where they can play for different coaches, a baseball coach, a track coach, a basketball coach, a football coach. They're all going to have different personalities, and his never changes. He's always consistent. And every one of those coaches love that kid. They all love the kid. But this kid played multiple positions. I gave him $3 signs, Rick. Davion Brown, he's 6'3", 195. perfect. 4.55 kid, I think he is. He's a talented athlete, plays running back, plays safety, plays some quarterback for him. He's the one you get into a staff room and it's a fist fight. Who's going to get this kid?
I was going to say, where do you think he might best suit?
Boy, if I was on that field, I would hope he dropped every pass thrown so he could be with
Bring
me.
him over here.
Be a DB. You know, I think he could play as a freshman. You know, safety is a hard position to play as a freshman. Running back's the easiest. Wide receiver's the easiest. Safety's like playing quarterback. You got to be there in the spring. You better be there in the spring because of the portal.
Yeah.
And some kids you're bringing in with experience to get on the field. If you're playing safety, corner, receiver, running back, no brainers. Safeties, they are your quarterbacks. So you better have a great knowledge of the game, and your defense. The next kid, Rick, is another player I gave $3 signs to, Xavier Cleveland from Green Run, 4.55. I think the kid is 4.5 to 4.6. He's a corner, safety, wide receiver. He is a great athlete. He's an excellent athlete. He's 6'4", 187, and plays corner. Has some corner talents. But, corner, safety, receiver, it'll be a fist fight for him in the staff room or basically whatever the kid decides he wants to do. But I would be, if he came as a receiver, I'd be recruiting the crap out of him to be a DB. So
there's more concessions now, I'm imagining, Coach. Don't you think? More concessions with the staff now. Kid wants to play somewhere. Okay, you didn't let me play there. I'm just going to jump in the portal anyway now. See ya.
Well, that's never changed. It was always up.
It's always been that way, I guess.
One thing I don't think has changed, Rick, and will not change. Where do you think your best position is? Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, that's that question.
Being, first of all, getting on the bus. Where do you see yourself? And don't tell me about the competition. Hey, listen, the great players, when they walk in the room, they ain't sitting in the second row. They're going to sit in the first row.
That's right.
You know that. I always had when I was in my meetings, my starters were in the front row, my position, then the second team, then the third team, then the walk-ons. And then, hey, when you moved up a seat, your ass better be ready to go.
That's right. That's right.
And it was, I wanted, they said, put your guys in. No, I want my starters. My starters were always on the first bus. I got this from Woody Hayes. When I got to Virginia Tech, they were the offensive guys. They didn't care. They just boarded buses. And I told Frank, I said, no way. Some offensive guy comes on that bus, starts laughing and happy jacking around. It ain't going to be pretty. I want a quiet bus. And I want the defensive guys on the bus. And Woody Hayes called it Big Red 1. The defense was Big Red 1. So I came out, I said, we call it the Big Orange.
The Big Orange. I like it.
And I had the starters come out, and it was class warfare. I had the starters with orange wristbands, the second string on their left arm, and the second string was maroon, and the third string was white, and it was Big Orange. When we wanted the first string out, Big Orange is on the field, and Cornell Brown was going to be on Big Orange.
I like it. Yeah, he's big. He was Big Orange day one, Cornell Brown.
Hey, from the day I had him in my office when he was on the first day of recruiting, I said, "Listen, we're press releasing you in the 2 deep.
Yeah.
You ain't played a snap for us yet, and are you kidding me?" I used to tell players, if you haven't earned a position, I'll give it to anybody we want to. Anybody. Don't care who it is, where they come from. I don't care. If you've earned your position, I will never give it away.
Right.
And they all knew who earned them and who didn't. Ask old Jeff Williams, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
He was a walk-on too.
Bud Foster will tell you that every day. Cornell Brown changed it all. Cornell Brown changed. He let me do everything I needed to do. Yeah.
It was recess.
Yeah.
It was his playground. He got in that gate on that old practice field, man, smile on his face and 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And changed infectious. His enthusiasm for people he loved his teammates. He really loved his
Natural
teammates.
leader. Yeah.
He loved football. And football was not just about the ball and the game. It was about the people that you're around, what you're doing. He was a selfless giver because he knew he had the formula, Rick, that a lot of people ain't figured it out. It's not that hard.
No.
You give and you will get in return. What you give is what you get in return. Give
100%.
of yourself, and you're going to get some great, lasting friendships that genuinely care about you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's what he was. That's what he was.
Well, good stuff, Coach. Thanks for this. Great insight, too, about what's going on today, man. That means a lot to be able to hear it from you, what's going on and what we see and how frustrated we are as just casual fans about it. You lived this game for 40, 50 years, and you see it and you know what it is and recognize it for what it is. So it's sad we are in this situation,
Rick, it's got to bottom out. Just like bad programs. People, when you get to, Virginia Tech or an LSU or Minnesota where it's so bad, the losing, you sit there and go, well, can't get any worse. Oh, yes, it can.
You can.
And
yeah.
it needs to go to that lowest point.
You're right.
It's got to get to the lowest point. Now, this is an empty well, man. This well has gone so deep and so dark that they ain't even close to seeing the bottom.
This is why you say, and to explain to people when they hear, and you said it all along, the NCAA wants this. That's what they're waiting on. That's what they want. They know it's going to get there.
And guess what's going to happen when the money people say enough? I'm not doing this anymore.
Right.
If the money people didn't give the money, where were they?
That's
Come on
right.
now. They're part of it too. Now, I'm not, hey, you want to do what you want with your money. Do you think I wouldn't give $10.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a William Mary alum, you think I'm giving money to go to NIL?
Right.
My hard-earned money? No way. So, Rick, that was fun as always. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the player breakdowns as well. We might do this again later in the week at some point.
Yeah, anybody's got any questions? If you get as you go through the week and names come up, or particularly with Virginia or Virginia Tech, let me know because I love doing that. I love evaluating them.
Yeah, that's good stuff, Coach. Good, man. We know how much people appreciate it. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Take care, man.
All right, talk to you soon. There you go. That's Filmation. Good stuff. Hope you appreciate that. That's a good breakdown. That's got to excite you if you're a Tech fan. Again, we don't know. Can't assume guys are going to be here, but it's good. It shows you that the eye for recruiting talent, that's something that James Franklin's done better than anything else he's done as a head coach. I mean, he's always been a great recruiter. So you should be excited about that if you're a Tech fan. That's good. I mean, those are pure high school guys he's talking about. So we want to thank Family Fencing, sponsor of our studio here in Reiner. I don't know why I keep forgetting. I forget to shut the shade because it's dark when I start the show. So my apologies. Thanks to Family Fencing, 540-200-8294. Hey, the snow's gone now, so they can come out and properly measure your property and get you ready to rock and roll. Good stuff. McClellan Chiropractic, thanks to Mark Hundley, right off of Walters Drive, 155 Walters Drive, right off of Pepper Spray, then you take Walters Drive. He's got everything you need, sponsor of our chat room, man. It's good stuff. Everything that you need to start feeling better. Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment, we appreciate, obviously, everything they bring to the table as our presenting sponsor. Thanks to Jonathan Sweet and Tim Miller. Stacy Compton will be part of what we're going to be doing going forward. It's going to be great to have those folks on. Little River Heating and Air, thanks to Charles Lee, and thanks to all the folks who have utilized them coming up, your heating and your air coming up for warmer months. 540-553-2971. Ryan Pry, the attorney in Radford, made some great comments today trying to let people know how things really are going on in terms of the legality of college athletics. 701 West Main Street in Radford. He specializes in trusts and estate planning. National Bank, member FDIC, thanks to Larry Ramsey, my official banking partner for the last 35 years, and this program's official banking partner. If you ever want to make a change, man, with people that are friendly and will take care of your best interests, that's the folks at National Bank. Professional Door Incorporated, thanks to Travis Williams up in Dublin, 38 years in business, professional and residential commercial garage doors. They are the best at what they do. Their business has expanded so much, and I appreciate them and obviously all the folks who help make this program possible. And the Ready Set Fund, thanks so much to Bob Christ, ReadySetFund.com. Bob is at BobChrist11 at Gmail. You can email him directly. Ask about what they can present in terms of text messages and so forth to help you or your organization raise money in a hurry. And they will do it in a hurry, like they did with the softball team at Floyd County. That's what the logo looks like if you look it up, ReadySetFund.com. I want to thank Brandon at Top Shelf Apparel. If you want a T-shirt, let me know. T-shirts are outstanding. Hit me up. I haven't shown them in a while. I've had requests. There you go. Here locally, $20. And if I have to ship them, we'll figure out the shipping and all that. And also want to thank Lawson's Mobile Home Supply. Thanks to James Lawson, 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Give James a call at 540-300-8011. And the NRV Super Bowl. They've been part of the community for 25 years. They've got weekend, late night bowling. It's great. They had a great Super Bowl presence, 382-5525. And we appreciate all those folks. They're terrific. They are terrific. Yeah, that was great. That was great. Yeah, he did. He kept saying, yeah, I want to look at those guys because, he felt like, I didn't look at those guys. They kind of added them later. And he remembered what you and others had said in chat, so he wanted to take the time. That's how great Coach Elmo is. He wanted to take the time to look at those kids in particular, just for you guys. So that's pretty cool, man. That's why he's the best. Good stuff. We're going to talk more about what's going on with Todd Grantham coming up. Todd's very vocal. Todd sees it for how it is. I know he's still involved in what's going on in coaching because he's coaching. And we're going to talk to him about this stuff because I know it's on everybody's mind. It's not good. I've spoken to quite a few, not just coaches, but administrators as we travel around doing games across the country, all the P4s that we've played at Radford and within the Big South and within other mid-majors, and there's not one administrator who has anything positive to say about anything that's going on. But they can only do so much at their level because the rules aren't being made by the individual schools. Just like Coach Elmo said, the commissioners in conjunction with the presidents, much like the owners in conjunctions with the commissioners of the league, which we just talked about, all kind of fits, doesn't it? Why won't professional sports get better? Because the owners don't care about anything but the bottom line. Product be damned. Fans be damned. And that's what's going to start. It's already happening in college football and in college basketball and in college sports as a whole. And the next big thing that's going to fall, and I believe it'll be next year, will be the end of what we know as the NCAA basketball tournament format that we all love. We better revel in it here this year with 68 teams because it will not be 68 teams next year. And it's a shame. It's a shame. All right, from one coach to the next. One great defensive mind to the other. There he is. He's the defensive coordinator for the UAB Blazers, Todd Grantham. What's going on, number 53 at Pulaski County High School?
What's up, Rick? How you doing this morning?
Doing all right, man. We're having a good discussion. It's a discussion people don't want to talk about, but we're talking about things going on in college sports and how it's unsustainable. And you're a guy who's right in it, and I know being at UAB, it's a unique situation with how you guys have to go about doing things. You've talked about it here, but we talk about this in relation to pro sports. And really the reason pro sports is declining is because the owners don't care as long as they're making money hand over fist. You have commissioners who don't really care about the sport.
Right.
We're seeing that now, collegiate sports as well. How much are the sports being considered? And all it is about trying to make as much money as possible if you can still do that in this environment.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a long-winded comment there, Rick.
It really was. Go, Coach, go.
You must have had this you must have had your coffee this morning, man. So first off, you have the National Football League, which I'm pretty, understanding of what's going on
Yeah,
there.
you know a little bit
So,
about it.
so
Yeah.
I'll kind of explain it there. And that's really why you see bad organizations versus good organizations, meaning, okay, and I've kind of witnessed this, the alignment of the personnel department and the coaching staff is how you succeed. Okay, meaning as a coach, you have a vision for the kind of players you want within your organization. And you and the management or the personnel people can decide, okay, the best fit for you. May not be the best player on the board, but he's the best fit for you.
Right.
Okay. And what happens is the issue with the NFL is players get older. So then you got to make a decision on when is this guy like done? When can he no longer play? Even though from a fan's perspective, this guy's a Hall of Fame guy, or hey, this guy's had a great career. I mean, you see signs. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, people get older. It's just the way it is. And in the National Football League, it's a matter of making sure that you don't keep you let a guy go a year early rather than keep him a year too much. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the NFL from that standpoint, because what happens is if you get old, it's hard to recover. Okay. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is the vision isn't the same in the National Football League from a personnel side to a coaching side as far as what you need. Okay. So that's where the issues come there. All right. From that standpoint. Now, when you get into college, it's a little bit different there in the sense these are really young players, right? So you don't really got to deal with the player getting old. What you have to deal with is kids all of a sudden now having money, right? And look, everybody watching this broadcast would take the money. Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, so don't blame the kids on it's the adults in the room.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So number one, like we have here, you got to have an educational process of financial literacy. Hey man, how are you going to manage this money? Okay. So you gotta work with them on understanding how to deal with that. Okay. And that's an ongoing educational process. Number two, okay, I don't care what you make. When we get into meetings, we're all the same. All right. But that's okay because the real players, and that's why it's the hardest part about it is basically you used to recruit a guy you might recruit a guy for 2 years, like as a sophomore, a junior, and you really knew the kid. And then he comes on a visit for 48 hours. Well, nowadays that's speeded up to you might get on the phone like today, have a kid in tomorrow, and he's here for 12 hours. So your ability to learn about the kid really shrinks. Now you can say, well, I'm going to call his coach, whatever. Well, that ain't really happening because what if that coach wants him back? Okay. Is he going to tell you the truth? So, I mean, it's very difficult to find the right makeup. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole deal. That's the whole secret is getting guys that want to work because look, I'm okay with the guys making money because most of the guys, they know that isn't their end all. I mean, they're coming with me to be developed because they want to go to the National Football League. So how do I create more value for myself? Okay. And they know this is just a part of the process to allow them to reach their ultimate goal, which is the National Football League. And that's just a fact. And while you're here, we're going to develop you. So first off, and this needs to be done up front. It doesn't matter. Like once you get into the program, we're all the same, man. And you're competing for a spot and we're going to play the best players because, like I told you, I worked for 3 Hall of Fame coaches in the sense of Mike Gundy, Frank Beamer, and Nick Saban. And all 3 of them guys have been in the National Football League. And I guarantee you they're as good as there is out there. All right. And the biggest thing they always had in their programs was discipline, accountability, and toughness. Because look, it's a tough sport and discipline does matter because it's 11 people playing at the same time. So your ability to get guys on the same page is critical. So I think the challenge is just bringing guys together, like, bonding. I mean, I think there's a real thing to that trust. I gotta make sure I play the A gap because I know this guy's got the B gap. Or hey, I'm a deep half player. I gotta stay in the deep half. I don't need to be sticking my nose towards the line of scrimmage. So all of that stuff really matters now. And what happens is is because of the shrinking of the time you get to know people. You can get in a situation where you got guys that don't align with that discipline, accountability, and toughness. They don't align with that bonding, and then you got to make a decision. Well, I can tell you right now that the best thing to do is cut your losses right now, because at the end of the day, it people matter, and playing to a certain standard matters. So really, the challenge is to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we're going to play the best players, and you're competing, because everything you do in life is competing. I mean, just like your podcast is competing with other podcasts. I mean, just like the teacher that's listening to this podcast is competing with other teachers. Everything you do in life, you compete. Okay. And that's one thing you got to teach guys at this age is competition matters, competing matters. And every time we step on the field, we're competing. And that's the process we're in right now, is working to learn each other, get to know each other. But then understand when we get on the field, like we had a 6 a.m. workout on Friday in our fourth quarter program, like it matters. Competition matters. And the biggest thing I would say is don't ever let go of the rope, because you're going to be struggling, and you're going to have to lean on other people, but you never let go of the rope. Don't ever let go of the rope. And I think that's the mindset you got to get to guys, because they're making money, and you got to educate them, because that becomes a part of your responsibility. I mean, as coaches, we got into it for the players at the end of the day. Like when I first got into it, I got into it for the players, just like Coach Elmo did.
Yeah.
And that's why you're in it. What's happened is because of, businesses, executives, people that really don't know the sport and are really more worried about the dollar have become a part of it. And that's what they care about. Well, what it's done is it's changed the needle for coaches. I mean, you listen to Calipari. Calipari's right. I mean, some people may like him, some people may hate him, but if you really listen to what he says, he's pretty sharp in what he's talking about. And really what happens now is, as a coach, they've changed the needle on how you got to educate guys. I mean, because if you don't, they're going to fail. And that's where it is right now. Now, the system in itself is not sustainable. I mean, because eventually some universities are going to go broke just from trying to keep up.
100%.
And eventually maybe the golf there was a round of golf played Sunday with Coach Saban and Trump and I think Urban and DeSantis down in Florida. Maybe in that golf round on Sunday, maybe they got something done, because it's real simple. It's real simple. Like, I think players should be paid. Okay. And it's real simple. This is how much money we make. This is how much we can pay. And that's it. I mean, there's a simple solution to this whole thing. You don't need to go to a court. You don't need to go find. And it's real simple. Once you graduate high school, you got 5 years, and you got 5 years to play 5 years. Okay. I mean, the solutions are out there. It's just the people that understand it aren't in the decision-making process. So that's the real problem. So as a coach, man, I just think you just got to embrace it. You just got to understand that it's not the players. I mean, these players are really awesome in the sense of, like, you can see their vision. You can see, like, they're wanting to learn, like they're wanting to become better, and, we got to continue to work and do our part of, as far as developing them. But like, this part of the year is actually fun, because you really get to just do football and teach guys. And that's what it's all about. The problem is nowadays, a lot of other things have been involved in it from a financial standpoint, how much guys make and all that, and the tenure they're there. I mean, that's the biggest beef Coach Saban had with it, is I can't develop a roster. Because if you went back and looked at Nick was really good, and I always watched, because I always studied him, is he always had the ability to have a guy that would basically redshirt year one, play special teams year two, okay, and then year three he was a starter, and he left for the draft and was a first-round pick after 3 years. But all the players believed, man, if I just bust my tail for 3 years and embrace the process, I'm gonna get paid at the end of the year. And they were looking at it back then that way, same way they look at it now. The difference is now is because of agents being able to, like, for example, if I'm an agent, Rick, and you're playing at Virginia Tech, per se, since you're there, Okay. And I meet you. Well, I'm not making any money, but if I can get you in the portal, okay, and then you can go to Radford or you can go to Virginia or even go back to Tech because you went in the portal and I do the contract. Well, who benefited?
That's the agent, right? Or the
The
person.
agent.
Yeah.
The agent benefited. I mean, you really didn't benefit, and that's the problem is that you can't build a roster, and there's so many people that are allowed to be around these kids, and kids are look, everybody can look at their kids now. I mean, they're all influential. I mean, it changes, by the minute what they think. And if you get someone that can give this guy some attention at night or during the day, and let's say he's not playing as much as he thought he should play, and they can give the guy attention and get him, hey man, if you get in the portal, I'll make you an extra $100,000, which is bullshit because he doesn't know that, but he's saying that.
He has no idea, right?
And then he gets him in the portal. Well, he's the only one that benefited from it. So that's the problem.
How much do you think coaches are influenced by how much money guys are getting paid, even if maybe, like Coach Elmo just said, if some guy who's not getting paid nearly as much could help the team more, but hey, we've got $3 million, whatever it is, invested in this kid. How are we gonna bench him now and still paying without an employee agreement?
I can't say that. I can't say that there's not going to be guys that do that because I think there are, and I think that's a mistake because at the end of the day, it's about winning games, and you got to find ways to win games, right? And look, if that happens, you made a mistake, you got to own it because what's happening is if you go that route, well, now one mistake became two mistakes, okay, and that's when you get fired. And the other thing is, more importantly than that, is I think you lose the respect of the players, and I think that's when the problem comes because players know who good players are. They're with them every day at practice. They know who plays hard. They know who loafs. I mean, they see it. I mean, they know. So I think that, and it is probably more prevalent at the higher profile positions, meaning quarterback. That's probably the one. That's probably the one that gets the most attention. Like, hey, we've signed this guy, and there might be another guy you bring in that maybe is as good. But I think the quarterback position is probably the one that happens the most at, just because of the popularity of the sport or the position. But I can't say that doesn't happen because, look, it does. But I mean, it even happens in pro football. Like I said, the alignment thing.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we took this guy in the second round. He's got to play. Now, I do think that if you let's say take a guy in a second round, or let's say you pay a lot of money for a guy, I think you need to really work hard to develop him because you have investment in him. But that doesn't mean you don't play the best player because guys slip through the cracks. So to me, you have to pay the best player for the program because the players see that, from that standpoint. However, to tell you that's not going on would be a lie because I know it is. And people don't want to, admit they make mistakes. Look, we all make mistakes. I mean, I can go back to, the Indianapolis Colts. And if I gave you the two names of Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf, well, Peyton Manning, Hall of Fame guy, Ryan Leaf. Well, up until a couple of days before the draft, Ryan Leaf was going to be picked before Peyton Manning. That was a back and forth discussion, and they made the right choice. And everybody talks about how it was not defined at that time. So look, it's an inexact science, and until you really get around guys, coach guys, you don't know. So I think the best thing to do is always be upfront, be honest with your players, good and bad. I think they always respect that. And then you play the best players. But if you made a mistake, well, then find a way to create value for that mistake. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, like if you look at the New England Patriots, they took Teddy Bruschi in the first round from Arizona, and he was really an edge rusher. I think he had like 25 sacks his last year at Arizona. But anyway, he was really drafted to be an edge rush guy. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, he didn't have the length, he didn't have the burst. He was not going to be an edge rusher. So the Patriots had to make a decision. Okay, do we just cut this guy because he's a mistake, or do we try to find a position for him? Well, they moved him to inside backer. And to the guy's credit, he busted his tail, he learned it, He became one of the best inside backers they ever had. They went to Super Bowl. So the whole thing of, oh, they drafted Brewski. Well, they really drafted him, and he was a mistake at the position they drafted him. But the characteristics were there as far as the intangibles they liked, and it fit their organization. So then it was like, how do we create value for this guy, and where can we do that? And look, we do that all the time. Phil and I did that when we were at Virginia Tech. It was, how do we take this defensive end and make him a defensive tackle? How do we take this safety and make him a linebacker? You know what I mean? How do we take this corner and make him a safety? I mean, nothing's ever etched in stone. So it's always about, how do I create value for the player that I have? And with the players I got, what position should he play to give our team the best chance to win? I mean, if you follow that recipe, you're going to be successful more than you're not.
Question for you here, Coach, in chat. So Morris asked, so in 5 years, do you think it's just going to be have and have nots? In other words, just 2 leagues, your blue bloods, your big boys, and then all the rest figure out what the second tier is going to look like.
Yeah,
Thanks, Morris. Appreciate it.
I think it's going to be more of, you're going to end up with the super conference, which is going to head more to collective bargaining, basically minor leagues, and it'll be 50 to 60 teams, and they're going to pay kind of like they are now. Okay, you're going to have that. Then I personally think that the second tier will be what we know as the FBS. It'll be college. It'll be more regional based, kind of like back in the early 80s, which is not a bad thing. And it'll be more regional based, and it'll be the other colleges. You know what I'm saying? It'll be those guys, and then you'll still have your FCS team. So I think they'll end up being 3 levels. Eventually, there'll be a super conference, and then after the super conference, there'll be another FBS, whatever they call it, will be more regional based from that standpoint, and they'll have more of the NCAA rules, that we're kind of accustomed to, and kind of go that right. I think eventually that's what it's going to get to, because it has to, because right now it's not a level playing field. I mean, and there are no rules, just like there's supposed to be a cap, but like everything, everything gets abused, and even though there's supposed to be a cap, some schools are figuring out ways with NIL to create more money to give to them to pay for play, which is what it is.
Do you think 3 championships at
Yeah,
each level?
I think eventually there's going to be 3. I think it'll be 3 levels from that standpoint. Now, maybe the playoffs won't be quite as large because you got 3 levels, but I think it'll be 3 levels eventually.
Big Ten keeps floating around that 24-team model. You think that's something that's going to pass? You think that's watering it down too much? How do you see that? They leaked that for a reason last week to go around.
Yeah, I think with the number of, I still think you would have excitement if you did go to 24. Obviously, it makes it a longer season, but I think that if you did that, the calendar's got to get right in the sense of basically you'd have to go to a spring portal from that standpoint. You would really start the playoffs right after the championship games and that kind of thing. 16 is probably the better number, but 24 is another round, which means more money. It's another weekend. You know what I'm saying? So
that's what it is.
The business side of it would tell me probably 24. I think whether it's 2016 or 24, the fans are going to enjoy it because there'll still be excitement. Guys trying to get that 23rd, 24th spot will be excitement. So, I think whatever they do from that regard, the fans will appreciate. But I think that to make it right, it's obviously got to get the calendar right. And obviously, which the bowls are dead now anyway. It's then what do you do with the bowl system? Which, like I've always told you, I think it should be just like the Daytona 500, man. Move it to the beginning of the season, and play the bowl games at the one.
Well, we've already seen 4 drop out. They've already had 4 deceased bowls already. So you're right. They're starting to feel that. Another question from Prometheus, Coach. What percentage do you think guys are getting paid per team? I know it's a hard guess, but what do you think? How many guys do you think are actually getting paid percentage-wise?
I would say anyone on scholarship. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Now that's going to vary, but I would say 90 to 95% of them are getting something.
Wow. And okay.
Something.
Yeah. Don't know the levels because they don't have to tell us, but yeah. Do you see employment contracts being part of the future?
I think that's a very difficult process just because, like, you to make them employees, okay, then you got to get a collective bargaining, okay, and okay, well then how do they vote for who represents them, okay, from a collective bargaining standpoint for the players, okay, then you're going to get into, all right, let's say that a kid's in high school, well, who's his representation if he signs? So I mean, there's a lot of things, you know, with that, and I don't have all the answers for that. I do know the simplest thing to do is to get collective bargaining / make them employees, which allows you to have an umbrella for structure that allows everybody to play by the same rules. And that's really what needs to happen. And it needs to be hard. Like the problem with college is, I mean, you can see it now, like a guy's got 6 years and he goes to court and he gets a judge from his hometown or from his alumni base and they give him an injunction. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, they need to do away with that. And it needs to be, look, these are the rules. This is what it is. Because look, the National Football League would do the same thing if they could. Okay. I mean, it's just, they're so tight vested in the rules and how they operate that it's very difficult to get around them. The problem in colleges is there's so many universities and things that people are finding ways to circumvent the rules, and there are no rules, and the NCAA doesn't have any power. So that's the first thing, is get the rules. These are the rules, and this is what we're going to do. Whether that's the commissioners, you know, saying, look, this is what we're abiding by, and if you break it, you're out, which I don't think that'll happen, because what happens is if one of the blue bloods, they don't want to lose them because that's a financial, that's a dollar sign. You know what I'm saying? So they're not going to want to lose them. But I do think that they got to get it to where the players are employees. You can sign them to multi-year contracts, and you can build a roster that way.
Did it surprise you to see how much money, when I think it was Ohio State and Texas Tech revealed what they had spent on their football roster?
No, because I went against them and I saw that.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like, hey, yeah, coach, I like to play for you, but this guy's offering me like $1 million more. Okay, I get it. I mean, like, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, what can you say? Limits your recruiting touch, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be interesting. Are you happy that you're getting down toward the end of your career as opposed to starting out now in this new environment?
I don't know. As a coach, you always adjust. You know, I mean, as a coach, the needle's always moving. You know what I'm saying? So I think if I was back in my younger years, I would still have the same passion for it. I think that what happens is as you get involved in it, you start seeing the things you got to do to be successful, and the needle moves. And then it always gets down to the players, meaning, okay, what do I got to do to help this kid create value for himself? That was the whole thing anyway. And then what happens now is there's more obstacles and difficulties in creating value for that person because there's more distractions. Okay. But every one of us, Coach Elmo, myself, I mean, most of them got into it to be around the sport, to be around the kids, to develop kids, to help them create value for themselves. So that part of it's never going to go away. The biggest thing is now is because of the money involved, the rules of being able to transfer and all that, and really society in general. There's a lot more things as a coach you got to put on your plate to help educate a guy so that he can leave and be, you know, productive in his life and stay the course, you know, because I guarantee you could, if I went back and looked at the teams that I was on, even at Virginia Tech, if the rules were in place like right now, like they were, 80% of those guys would have left at some point, you know, just because it's like, I'm out, you know what I'm saying? I mean, because it's hard, you know what I mean? I mean, I think that's what we're doing to everybody in injustice is, you know, by being able to fight through something difficult to achieve a goal. And that's where we're failing our young guys as a society is giving them the easy way out.
I know it's not one answer, but how much do you expect coaches to be able to keep of the classes they bring in each year from the portal / high school? I know it's different for every school, but it's not as high as people would like to believe it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be difficult. I think that when you get into the lower level schools, what's going to happen is there's no more like finding a diamond in the rough, because what's going to happen is the bigger schools now have personnel departments that are basically high school and portal. So,
Yeah.
like for example, they got one side of their building watching high school guys for next year, and they got the other side of the building watching portal guys or college guys to see what they are. And because there's no rules that you can lock a guy in, what they're going to do is they're going to tamper and get to the guy and say, if you go in the portal, we'll give you $500,000 or something like that, and the kid's going to do it. So I think that's going to be the problem. Is even like in basketball. I mean, I think that it'll be interesting to see the higher seeds win. It used to, before the NIL, you'd always have the mid majors that would come up and make a run. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you're going to see that in basketball anymore, just because you're paying guys. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're paying guys, so you can't lock those guys in and everything. So I think that's what's going to be the biggest thing is you're not going to be able to develop a team at a smaller school without having to do it yearly. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it, but you're not going to have, like, for example, DeMarcus Ware went to Troy. Okay, well, if DeMarcus Ware was in today's society, he would not have graduated from Troy.
No.
He would have been at an SEC school. It's just the way it is.
Finally, do you remember the moment when you realized, were you back in the NFL when you saw that it quit being about NIL and pay for play? Do you remember that moment when you heard that the environment was changing and it quit being about name, image, and likeness, and just, hey, come on, we're going to give you this to come be our quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I remember the very first meeting we had. It was like, you can't discuss, and this is not pay for play. This is for their name, image, and likeness, and all of that kind of thing. And that's not even talked about now. It's like, this is your contract. Now we've signed the guy. Then you put it on Twitter. We re-signed this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's the way it moved. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what are you guys doing this week? How does it work now with your
good, man?
your
Same
program?
stuff. Yeah, basically it's awesome. I mean, like we're really doing football school. You only got so many hours a week you can do that. We obviously got our fourth quarter program at 6 a.m. on Fridays. That's a great time to really challenge guys and make our team better and not let go of the rope and work on those kind of things. But really, Monday through Thursday is really just about development, teaching guys the system, and then they get to go out and move around a little bit, on their own and stuff.
Okay. Well, good stuff, bro. Thanks, man. It's good, man. It's great insight. We're all just trying to adapt and learn this stuff. So it's great. Good stuff. And thanks for answering everybody's questions too.
Y'all take care.
All right, man. Have a great week.
Bye.
Talk to you, brother. All right, man. Great stuff there from Coach Grantham. Well, there you go. I mean, that's I think so, Coach Elmo. Yeah, I think you still have a job with Coach Grantham. Good stuff. Good discussion today. I mean, it's important conversations. I know the passion we all have for college athletics. I mean, hell, I work in it. It's my chosen profession. And you get down. There's a lot of days you get down when you have internal discussions. And then when I reach out and I talk to somebody over at Tech, and it's tough, man. It's tough. It is what it is. As Todd just said, obviously we need the employment agreement. You need a contract like that. How it's going to come to be in this atmosphere, I don't know. But it's a great discussion. Thanks for everybody getting involved. It's good. Thanks. I hope everybody appreciates it. We try to bring you stuff that's pertinent to what's going on, and it's tough. So thanks to everybody for your interest, and thanks to Coach Elmo and to Todd. Good stuff, folks. I hope everybody appreciates it. It's great. None of us like it. None of us like any of this. And I don't know. It's bleak. It's bleak. Thanks to the Ready Set Fund. Thanks Professional Door Incorporated once again, National Bank member FDIC. Ryan Pry, the attorney. Thanks to Little River Heating and Air, Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Thanks to McClellan Chiropractic, Family Fencing, Lawson's Mobile Home Supply, the NRV Super Bowl. And thanks everybody, by the way, for giving me a heads up about today. I don't know what happened with the first effort to stream, but I'll make everybody aware of it at YouTube. So thanks to everybody. Appreciate that. I think I know what to do now that it's happened. That's great though. You know, it was the one technical part of this that hasn't really happened, to where I'm actually seeing that I'm on and everybody telling me that, hey, we heard the open, but we can't see the show. So thank you. Thank you for that. That was great. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have Marva join us in Miami. Brian Siegler. I think Mike Burnham's okay to join us from Miami. He and Marva both will be in Miami tomorrow. Another huge game, Protect, but I don't know. That was a dauber down type of result on Saturday, losing that home game to Florida State in the manner in which they did. But thanks to everybody. Hope to see you again here tomorrow. Please spread the word, subscribe, like, and share the channel. Take care, and we'll see you on the Tuesday edition. Be good, everybody. Take care.